Fruitvale Station begins with footage of Oscar Grant's murder at the hands of a police officer. For many people, that footage was all they knew about the 22-year-old victim of a broken system, but Ryan Coogler helped change that. The filmmaker added context to a short and shocking video in order to show just how much Oscar's life mattered. The way Coogler delivers that context, I think, is evidence of his potential to go down as one of cinema's greatest visual storytellers, Creed and Black Panther only adding to his case. But before diving in, we here at Film Switch are striving to support the Black Lives Matter movement in whatever way we can. So along with celebrating excellent filmmaking moments from Black directors, we will also be donating whatever money we make from this video to the cause. Links to organizations, bail funds, petitions, we have all that in the description so that you can get involved as well. Also, I am in no position to talk about the Black experience, that's what the movie is for. This video will be about the filmmaking itself, so let's start with a quote about filmmaking. In his book, Sculpting in Time, film master Andrei Tarkovsky wrote, "It is crucial that mise-en-scène, rather than illustrating some idea, should follow life, the personalities of the characters and their psychological state." A movie like Silence of the Lambs is dominated with shots like these, close-ups that isolate people from each other. Rarely do we see two characters actually share a shot, even when communicating, and it makes sense. Hannibal is hiding his knowledge about Buffalo Bill. Clarice is hiding the trauma that drove her to become a detective. Everyone hiding things from each other means everyone would rather be alone. Populating frames with secluded individuals was Jonathan Demme's way of making each character's lonely and secretive psychological state visual. Ryan Coogler was dealing with an entirely different kind of character. Fruitvale Station meets Tarkovsky's definition of effective mise-en-scène by having the look of each shot be informed by Oscar's central desire: company. Not including the real-life footage that bookends the movie, Fruitvale Station has a total of about 785 cuts, and of those 785, Coogler cuts to a shot like this only 55 times. What makes this shot different from the other 785 is the lack of people in Oscar's frame. For 93% of the film, Coogler gives Oscar shots like these, where the mise-en-scène includes people. Sometimes it's a party, other times it's just a part of a person, but for 93% of the movie, Oscar has company. This is important because of a line delivered towards the end of the film. We see Oscar's mother, Wanda, mourning the death of her son.
You gotta let me hug him.
She begs the nurse to let her into the room and let her hug her son because she knows that Oscar didn't
like to be alone.
That line, I think, sums up Oscar's character perfectly. To him, life was a shared experience, so Coogler makes sure the frames depicting that life are occupied by multiple people as well. Even in the moments we think he is alone, Oscar winds up pulling out his phone to call and connect with someone. By the way, the decision to show Oscar scroll through multiple contacts before getting to who he wants to call is brilliant. By showing all the other people Oscar could be calling, Coogler is also helping us recognize that Oscar's life mattered to more people than the ones we see on screen.
Hello?
Grandma?
We don't know how many other friends and family members would have loved to receive a call from him, but we know there were plenty. Letting Oscar's contacts become part of the film's mise-en-scène is brilliant economic filmmaking, and it doesn't stop there. In the first shot of the actual film, we see that Oscar has a tattoo of Safina's name. To get a tattoo of someone is to want that person around you forever. I mean, it's gonna sound hippie-ish, but I got a Beatles tattoo because I wanted their message of peace and love on me at all times. To have our first look at Oscar include his tattoo of Safina is to set up a character who wants a person around as much as possible. Crowding Oscar's shots with people is the perfect payoff to the kind of character that tattoo sets up. Also, in a symbolic sense, the tattoo makes it so that Oscar can never really be alone, even in the film's most devastating shot. This is one of the 55 times that Coogler cuts to alone Oscar. Because we got so used to seeing him around people, especially during the whole New Year's sequence on the train, seeing him alone is jarring. This shot amplifies the sound of the bullet by visually showing us the consequences of that sound. A bullet in his back means Oscar will be away from the strangers waiting to be friends, the friends who were practically family, and the family that he loved so much. You feel that loss of life viscerally, more so than in the footage because of Coogler's directing. His decision to keep frames full and messy as opposed to vacant and sterile showed us that for Oscar, life was about being around people, and when your life is about people, isolation is death. However, as we mentioned, Coogler's inclusion of the tattoo makes it so that Oscar had Safina around him even in that fatal moment. And there's also the final shot of Oscar's body. Again, we see him amongst people. Despite death, love continues to surround him. And maybe that is why we urge each other to say the names of police victims. It is not only to make people recognize the injustice of their fate, not only to reinforce if they were a person, but also to continue surrounding that person with love after life, to continue filling their frames with the company that makes life worth living.
Still haven't beat me yet, you know that, right?
The use of people, literal humanity, as mise-en-scène, along with the contact scrolls, the tattoo, and the line he didn't like to be left alone, they are all evidence that, whether it was strangers or family, Oscar was at his happiest when he had company. And a person who loves people is a person who should still be alive. Turning a person some people passively watch die on the news into a person full of flaws, full of promise, and just surrounded by affection, it's not an easy task to pull off, but Coogler did it, and he did it effectively. After rewatching the movie for this video, I honestly just got really, of course, sad because of the content, but also excited that we are living in a time where we get to watch Ryan Coogler make movies. It's pretty cool. It's cool because I like compassionate filmmaking. I like that the scenes where the screen is cluttered with people feel like a campfire. Little Woman has that same campfire feeling, which makes the moment the fire is put out all the more tragic. Same with Fruitvale Station. Stories from compassionate filmmakers often have more weight than those told from people who treat characters like toys. I'm happy Coogler is one of the few commercial directors who has held on to that empathy. But again, information for supporting the movement and hopefully preventing movies like these with what type of content it has from even being possible, that's all in the description. And right now there are plenty of ways to access movies by Black filmmakers. You should watch them. I've certainly been behind, but we're going to talk about a few of those on this channel down the road.